Okay, we're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I now call to order the 2060th meeting of the City of College Place City Council. It is 7:01. And will the clerk please take roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Bobbitt,
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Nyhagen. I believe she is absent. Councilmember Selby,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman,
Present.
Councilmember Trope.
Present.
Okay, and we also have, that is a quorum. We also have City Attorney Colwell, City Manager Rizzatello, Chief Tamaris, Deputy Clerk Holman, myself.
Great, thank you. Will you please note excused absence for Councilmember Nyhagen, please? Okay,
Will do.
thank you. Oh, wait, will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
And justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, it is now time for some words to get us started off. Mr. Bobbitt, will you please share a few to get our meeting going?
Okay, I invite you to bow your heads. Dear Father in heaven, we are thankful that we can come together tonight as a city council. We thank you for the privilege of being part of this assembly. And we ask for your presence tonight as we go about the business of the City of College Place. We pray this in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. It is now time for public comment. Did anyone submit a comment or arrange to speak, Lisa?
They did not.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the consent agenda, which consists of the agenda for September 22nd, 2020. We also approve the council minutes from September 8th, 2020, approve the CDBG Microbusiness Assistant Grant Award acceptance, the CDBG Stormwater Study Grant Award acceptance, the August 2020 check register and financials. And if there's, let's see, are there any items the council would like to remove from the consent agenda before moving on? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Does Councilmember Selby second? Do we need to add to the consent agenda excusing Councilmember Nyhagen?
I'm not sure. Do we have to do it that way, Lisa?
That would be appropriate, yes.
Okay. And then, so adding with the addition of excusing Councilmember Nyhagen for absence today.
I'll
So-
approve the consent agenda with that addendum.
I'll
Perfect.
continue to second with that addendum.
Thank you very much. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you. So we have one presentation today. Mr. Rizzatello will give us an update on COVID-19 and the wildfires.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'll just go over presentation and where we're at with COVID-19 and federal, state, and then local level, as well as some information about the wildfire situation in the region. Next slide. Okay. So general backdrop for everything. So June 9th, the city council extended the emergency declaration. All the other agencies in the county have done the same. June 26th, the governor issued the statewide mask mandate. August 4th, Governor Inslee and Secretary Wiseman announced indefinite pause on phased reopening. There has not been any movement on phasing since that time. Just a couple of adjustments, like for areas that were still in phase one, like Wenatchee area or Tri-Cities, where now they're like a phase 1.5. But beyond that, everyone else is frozen in place. So Walla Walla County is still at phase 2 of Safe Start. So outdoor dining, limited in capacity dining is allowed, gathering no more than 5 people. And then government buildings are still closed to in-person interactions until phase 3. This includes the library. So for patrons that want to utilize the College Place Library of the Rural Library District down at Meadowbrook Plaza, they have curbside services, but no in-person services as of yet. We've had dialogue with the governor's office about maybe looking at that again, because a lot of residents have expressed desire to have that available at some limited capacity, because folks need a place to go. Surrounding counties, just to give a general backdrop on things: Columbia County, Dayton area is phase 3, Benton Franklin County's 1.5 is discussed, and then Umatilla County, that has ping-ponged a little bit, where it was a phase 2, then went to a phase 1, and then it is now a phase 2 again. We meet as a unified command group every Monday and Thursday at 9, the county, us, hospital, all the governmental organizations. And then the governor's office now has calls with Central Washington mayors and managers every other Friday. Next slide. Just to give a snapshot of where we're at as of now, the total count since the start of this thing in the county is 875, with 115 cases in College Place. Active cases are around 66. Actually, it was substantially lower until this weekend. This weekend, there was about a 2-week delay in like Labor Day cases. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of a blip. County Health, they still have the informational line, the Cepheid machine, which we have a public-private partnership with. That's at Providence and is helping. And there's additional testing locations with the list right there. Next slide. Okay, so federal response, CARES Act money, it's slowly making its way out through federal agencies, and as announcements are made, we act on that. So Economic Development Administration, the $18.4 million request for a treatment plant, that they are still reviewing it. It did pass initial criteria though, which is a good thing. So they're definitely taking a serious look at it. FEMA, there's a general aid grant for fire department equipment, which we put in for. And then 2 grants, which we're currently pursuing, is one to do, there's actually a resiliency one available now to do some water tower seismic work, which would help our elevated tank, and then also a resiliency grant for a generator at well number 3, which is the good well down at Lamperty and Larch. There is no action yet on a supplemental CARES Act. Other things to be aware of is August 21st, Department of Education suspended student loan payments through New Year's Eve. And then September 4th, CDC issued an order temporarily banning residential evictions nationwide, also through New Year's Eve. Next slide. Okay, state response, you'll see the links to the websites there. for their response. The map and the graph just shows basically the cases and the rolling rate. As you can see from a statewide level, it's apexed and is on the decline. So the mask mandate still is in effect. State agencies are more difficult to deal with because they are still not working in person. So everything's being done remotely. Governor's office did distribution where we're getting an additional grant of $144,000 from that COVID response monies, and they'll have a cutoff in November 30th. You'll all get a ranked proposal list of projects we think that'd be good for a city at the October workshop, and hopefully action by the next business meeting in October, because that money has to be spent by November 30th. There's another round of work in Washington small business grants. I sent it out on the listserv of all the businesses in College Place. The port is administering it. It was announced today. Likely they'll make 70 awards countywide. They're for $2,500 grants, and that's going to be administered locally. CDBG monies, we're working with the county, but money has been allocated through BMAC for utility assistance, mortgage assistance, business assistance, again through a port, and then quite a bit of rental assistance as well. So a lot of the bases are getting covered. But some things to keep in mind: legislature still hasn't been called into emergency session, which means likely cuts will be deeper than if they would have went into session. Luckily, our impacts are fairly narrowed. So basically state shared revenues, and then grant programs like Transportation Improvement Board. So basically the grant agency we go to for roadway work, that does have a threat of it being impacted. Next slide.
Okay, and I just wanted to note that Councilmember Nyhagen has arrived.
So to show the local response, the picture there is actually the line of residents waiting for hand sanitizer and masks, which was quite shocking. We've had a variety of free hand sanitizer and mask giveaways at various times to make sure everyone had the opportunity to get some. That occurred on July 7th, July 9th, August 26th, and August 27th. Special thanks to Walla Valley Chamber of Commerce. They actually helped us deliver a package of masks and hand sanitizer to every business in the city of College Place. So that greatly helped. Also, we've been making videos every 2 weeks to give an update to the public on where things are at. The facilities are still closed to the public, but staff are available by phone and email, and we'll reopen whenever we get to phase 3. Farmers market's doing good. Revenues are holding steady on that compared to last year. Dining tables for restaurants, they've definitely been appreciated. And then we have the interlocal agreements in place with City of Walla Walla for the Business Relief Fund. That money went out. And then BMAC is administering assistance. And for our residents on the slide, as well as on the website, there's a phone number to reach those respective agencies. Next slide. Okay. The other thing is we've been collaborating with the county, the chamber, Downtown Foundation, and others on a Think Local campaign. You'll see little videos that are on the social media pages, as well as some of the banners on College Avenue, and that just is encouraging our residents to shop local and support our small businesses. And that's actually a regional initiative that goes all the way from Dayton to here, Milton, Freewater, and everywhere in between. That's covered by the state cares grants, and the YouTube videos, we cross post them through the Facebook page. And then there's hyperlinks that show essentially the whole campaign in and of itself. Next slide. Okay, this takes you to links for some of the data trends for Walla Walla County as far as the Economic Revenue Forecast Council. And I will go through just some of the more interesting ones, which is important just as we're planning projections for next year's budget and so forth. So next slide. Okay, so as far as jobs go, we are at a point from a statewide level where nearly half the jobs lost have been recovered since the onset of this pandemic. So that's a slide graph to demonstrate that. Next slide. This is revenue collections from the state with the Revenue Act. So this encompasses like all the respective taxes. Interesting thing is that while it definitely hasn't increased anywhere near where it was at, if you look at it actually bounced back significantly. So we didn't see the sustained decline in that they were thinking would occur earlier this year. Next slide. Housing starts. As you can see here, naturally there was a decline with the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order, but since that's been reimagined as Safe Start, as you can see here, the housing market, while it isn't at the peak it was in 19, it did bounce back quite a bit, where basically if you look at the chart, it's like at the early 2019 level. Next slide. This is just information demonstrating the respective employment in construction, manufacturing, and so forth. Naturally, there are declines in it, but a lot of the positions are starting to come back, which is a good thing. Next slide. The state just put this out. They actually have like an economic dashboard on their CARES site, which is quite interesting. And it just shows you where things are at pretty much. So for instance, like retail sales statewide, the receipts are down around 5%. Unemployment varies. Okanagan County has been hit really hard at a 26% decline. But here we're in a negative 5%. So roughly the same rate as Franklin County. So that just gives you a little flavor of where things are there. Next slide. Same thing with CPI and housing permits, a minor decline, but those are starting to bounce back as well. So it just shows the versatility of the markets. Next slide. And then, so that covers the COVID part. I just wanted to give a briefing on the wildfire element. We're lucky we didn't have wildfires in the immediate valley, but I just wanted to brief council that we have sent some of our volunteer crews to help with adjacent fires because when there is state declared emergencies, we do send fire crews for state mobilization. And then there's reimbursements for staff time and also equipment rental and other things. This year, although it started out slow, it definitely has been busy. So this year we've sent fire personnel to Chief Timothy Fire in Clarkston. A crew went to my old stomping grounds in Colfax to put out the fires there. And then also Evans Canyon, and then tomorrow, Chief Winters and some of our volunteers are actually coming back from the Cold Creek White Pass fire over in Yakima County. So yeah, quite active year, but I just wanted to make sure council was briefed on that, just to know that while those fires are in the immediate vicinity, much like a lot of the other fire agencies, we do send personnel when requested via state mob. And with that, that is the presentation I have on the status of things. As you can see here, these are little advertisements just encouraging people to wear the masks and so forth. It's part of the Think Local campaign. So some of these signs are starting to go out in the community. Walla Walla has them, and we do as well. So that just shows you what that looks like. But with that, that's my report for tonight. So any questions?
Ms. Colwell?
Can we purchase those signs to put up or something similar in our yard?
Yeah. So the company that's doing that for everyone is David Mumm. He has a company called 101 Hats, and the link is in the PowerPoint for that whole initiative. But you can get signs through him.
Any other questions for Mike? Councilmember Selby?
Sorry, I can't find my raise hand button. I basically had a comment because I'm not the kind of person that usually likes to confront people when they're like not doing what they're supposed to. But what I have started doing is carrying a mask in my purse, an extra disposable mask. And today I was in the DX and a young woman walked in with no mask and I was like, and so I just pulled it out and said to her, "Excuse me, do you need a mask?" And it was really awkward for both of us. And then when she put it on, she came back and she said, "Thank you." And she said, "I can't believe I forgot." And it actually turned out to be quite a nice little interaction. So I think, you know, the disposable masks, if you get a bunch of them and just carry them around so that you can hand them out to people rather than just yelling at them, I think is helpful.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rosatello. And let's see, there are no public hearings on the agenda tonight, so we're going to move on to action items. Let's see, first item is the creation of chapter 8.28, and I'll let Mr. Rosatello give description of that.
This simply provides another tool in the toolbox for law enforcement to use. The genesis of this is Mike Denny and some other volunteers of the Blue Mountain Land Trust and the Recreation Hub project reach out to me about a more formalized litter code where if folks are on purpose littering, it can be punishable by a sliding scale of fines depending on the amount or community service. This was borrowed from a best practice that's actually out in the state of North Carolina that Mr. Dungy made me aware of. And that's simply all this is. It basically just provides another tool in the toolbox for law enforcement to utilize. It's a short and sweet code that gets right to the point. And you'll see that even when the fines where it's like sliding scale based on like the weight of stuff that's being like thrown out randomly in the community. It reflects the best practice.
Okay, great. Okay, we're going to move on to any questions or comments. Councilmember Bobbitt?
Oh, just a comment about last week, seeing a BDI trash truck go driving by, kind of like Pigpen and the Charlie Brown cartoon strip, all these papers and things floating around it as it drove by.
Oh, no.
How do we handle
Wow.
that?
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't have them covered.
How we handle that is honestly, I need to have a discussion with Mr. Dietrich on that because those trucks typically have guards on them. So I've not noticed that. The way this code is as far as solid waste operations like that, as long as it's not done on purpose, it's exempted. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, they still should be doing the best practice and not throwing the stuff out of the vehicle. So I can let Mr. Dietrich, who's the owner of Basin, know.
Yeah, it was just going down 12th Street there in College Place, and I just kind of got a chuckle because it reminded me of that cartoon character because just papers flying and dust coming off. I don't know. Apparently had a full load.
Now that's a visual.
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Cleveland.
No questions, just a comment that I appreciate having this added to our local ordinances in order to just better protect our natural resources.
Yes. Councilmember Peterson.
No questions.
Councilmember Nyhagen. Oops, did we lose Councilmember Nyhagen?
Yeah, she is not with us anymore. I think she's having technical difficulties.
Okay, Councilmember Selby.
Just a comment, I appreciate this. When Department of Ecology a number of years ago was doing a survey on littering, they found that young men were the worst offenders, and they actually responded the best to like threats of enforcement. So I'm wondering if it might be helpful for us to get together with the high schools and point out that, hey, we now have an ordinance against this, so you can get in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think it can be coupled with the educational activities, which we have to do under our stormwater permit, the MPDES permit. And I just want to add that we actually did do a hire for the vacant engineering tech position finally, so we will have someone coming on board relatively shortly.
Oh, good, good. Councilmember Sherman, questions or comments?
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trope.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on, if you have any questions, please use your little hand. Well, actually, I'll see the hand as well anyway, so. Is there a motion? Oh, wait a minute. Councilmember Trope, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 20-016, which permits the addition of chapter 8.28 litter, the College Place Municipal Code.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Cleveland.
I would like to second.
Are there any items for further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Okay, the next item is the award for the Curb Light Industrial Flex Study Program. Mr. Rizzatello?
Okay, so this the next couple items here are exciting because this is implementation pieces to the various grants which we've been awarded over the last couple months. So this first one here is to get a consultant to conduct a planning assessment for needs for like light industrial and flex spaces. And this would have components related to architectural as well as market study and then infrastructure assessments for respective sites that are zoned for this that would be good for. This grant was accepted back in July. We put it out to bid with advertisements, website, also sent email through MRSC Small Works roster. We ended up getting 6 proposals back. However, the one which was chosen by the graders, which essentially dealt with all of the needs, both economic, architectural, and then planning, was the proposal by JUB. And what they proposed, it's within a set amount of grants. So that's a recommendation to award that light industrial flex planning study work to JUB engineers.
Good, great. All right, we're gonna go through council members for any questions or comments on this topic. Mr. Bobbitt?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Cleveland?
No questions.
Mr. Peterson?
No questions.
Ms. Selby?
No questions.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
Mr. Choate.
No questions.
All right, seeing none. Do we have a motion? No motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, okay. Mr. Cho's making a motion. Is there a second? Oh, Councilmember Sherman?
I'll second.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other additional discussions?
Is Mr. Trope going to actually make the motion?
Yeah, what was the
Yes,
motion?
I'm sorry there.
Okay.
Motion to approve contract with JUB Engineers to conduct light industrial flex space study.
Thank you.
E.
I'll still second.
All right, then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, seeing none, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Okay, next item is a contract to award JUB Engineers for hazardous pipeline GIS.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is implementation work for that hazardous pipeline and materials grant we received through the Federal Department of Transportation for just shy of $100,000. This definitely has quite a bit of in-depth work associated to it because it's really getting all of our data sets with proper quality control and just organized where all the metadata is properly categorized. Because the problem we've had over the years is we've had various either interns or consultants or both pretty much developing these data sets, and especially with geographic information systems, the way stuff is organized or even identified is really based on the person or firm doing it. JUB, they're starting to do some GIS work related to our wastewater master plan, which is done through the wastewater treatment plan contract. Therefore, they can easily spread that knowledge and get everything done this way. So that way we have all of our data sets properly organized and QC'd, and it'll just be really nice to have a nice cleaned geodatabase.
Yes, okay, we're gonna go through council members. Any questions or comments, Mr. Bobbitt,
No questions.
Mr. Cleveland,
No questions.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Ms. Selby,
No questions.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
okay, Mr. Trope?
No questions.
Okay, great. So is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion, and Councilmember Peterson?
I was gonna make the motion. That's fine. I'll wait. Thanks.
Do you want to make the second?
I'll do that.
Okay,
Can I read the motion?
Make the motion.
yep,
Motion to approve contract with JUB Consultants for development of a GIS system as outlined in agreement for professional service.
okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Peterson?
Second.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there any additional discussions or questions? Okay, let's move on then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Okay, so the last action item is the city stormwater finalization by Mr. Rizzatello.
Okay, thank you. So this RFP I put together very quickly, and you'll understand why I'm in it. So the stormwater plan, this is being paid for by a grant from Department of Ecology we received around 2 years ago. Parametrics did about, I would say, close to like 90% of the work, but then they were just like non-responsive, where we weren't getting answers. And in that time, they also merged with another company, and they closed their Pullman office and then let go of some staff out of the Pullman. So in general, they lost interest in us. First time that's ever happened in my career, to just have a consulting firm vanish like like that. We gave them several chances to try to get back into what was agreed with timelines, but they never did, nor did they show an interest. So with the concurrence of Department of Ecology staff, we terminated the contract with Parametrics, and we had a retainer of about $14,000 left over from the grant. The initial concept was that Robert Gordon was going to finish up the rest of the plan, and he was working on it, but unfortunately he passed away. And the grant deadline was actually the end of this month. I talked with the state about the circumstances, and they're willing to extend the grant deadline to December 31st. But it's key to get someone in here who basically knows the lay of the land. And for the money that's left over, it's not much money for a whole lot of work. We sent it out through Small Works roster, advertised it, and 2 firms bid on it. The one that was the most responsive, where it touched all the points that was needed to close out the stormwater plan contract, was JUB. Therefore, it's recommended to contract with them. And we put this on an express schedule because really they're going to need all the time until mid-December to get this thing wrapped up. So, but they've assured me they're able to do that, which is a good thing. So that's what you see before you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Rizzatello, for taking action on that. So we'll go through the council members for questions or comments. Mr. Bobbitt?
Appreciate all the effort you did, Mike. No questions.
Absolutely. Mr. Cleveland?
I will echo Jerry's comments. Other than that, no questions or comments.
Mr. Peterson?
No questions.
Ms. Selby?
I feel like I should apologize on behalf of engineers everywhere, but other than that, no questions.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
Okay, and Mr. Trope?
No questions.
Okay, great. Please use a button to raise your hand. If you have any questions or comments. Is there a motion? Councilmember Cleveland?
I will motion to approve contract with JUB Engineers to finalize the city stormwater plan.
Great, thank you. Is there a second motion?
Councilmember Selby, second.
Okay, great. Any other additional discussions or questions before we vote? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Great. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Thank you again, Mr. Rizzatello, for getting on top of that and getting it taken care of for us.
Yep.
Okay, there's no administrative reports tonight. And let's see, there are a couple of informational reports in your packet for you to review on your own time. Is there, let's see, is there any other business for good of the order? Kind of moving through this, aren't we? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, come on, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, I was gonna say, did everybody already leave?
I hate, you guys have made me do way too much heavy lifting on the motion front today.
All right, so do we have a second?
Second.
All right, great. So if there's no objections, the meeting is adjourned at 7:39 p.m.
Miss everyone.
Thank you.
You guys do.
Get well,
Stay healthy.
Mayor.
Thank you very